So it's been nearly 3 years since the last Apple Watch SE refresh, and all rumours are pointing towards a new model launching later this year, so let's delve into what to expect. Beginning with the design though, rumours Apple is working on a colourful hard plastic casing for the next Apple Watch SE, similar to the iPhone 5C, but that's been cancelled. Apparently Apple's designers were not too fond of how a plastic watch looked. I guess it may have looked too much like a toy. Also, the casing wouldn't have been cheaper to build than aluminium, and so as a result, Apple scrapped those plans. And if you're wondering why a plastic watch wouldn't be cheaper to build, it's because a plastic watch would have an all-new design that they would have to build from scratch, whereas in previous years, Apple would just reuse older Apple Watch bodies for the SE that they already have all the tooling and manufacturing in place for. And so knowing Apple does this quite often for their cheaper products, I think the new SE will just reuse an older existing Apple Watch shell. Currently, the Apple Watch Series 1 and 2 are based on the Series 4 design language, and so I reckon the SE3 will be based on the Series 7 design language, since the flagship line got a redesign with the Series 10. So as a result, we should see slimmer bezels and larger displays with the Apple Watch SE3. The SE2 came in 40 and 44mm size options, but we should see 41 and 45mm size options with the SE3, much like the Apple Watch Series 7, 8 and 9. This also differentiates it from the Series 10 design, since that comes in 42 and 46mm size options, so the bigger screens are still going to be available on the upcoming Series 11. In terms of cost cutting though, I do expect Apple to retain the nylon composite, or in less fancy terms, the plastic back they introduced with the Apple Watch SE2, which is more durable than the glass back anyway. And in terms of display upgrades, I think the main change we'll see, apart from the larger display's higher brightness, the SE2 offers 1000 nits of brightness, but the Series 9 upgraded that to 2000 nits, so it's possible we see that upgrade with the SE3. I am aware the Series 10 currently offers the same level of brightness, but it is possible the Series 7 does offer 3000 nits of brightness similar to the Ultra, and so that would set it apart from the SE3. Also, to be fair, the current Series 10 is 40% brighter when viewed at an angle, something the older Series 7, 8 and 9 design language did not offer. But you know what I would offer? A chance to click that subscribe button. It's free and would bring you the latest of Apple right to the subscription box, so please consider it. It would be appreciated. Join the saranbyte gang now. Obviously, many would love to see an always on display come to the SE, and this is probably the only omission that stops me from buying the SE, because I do honestly need the always on display. It was a game changer when it launched, and just being able to glance at your wrist and read the time anytime throughout the day is very clutch. But unfortunately, Apple knows how many people love that feature, and so I have a feeling this will still remain exclusive to the regular watches. It is a shame, because this was a feature introduced back in 2019, and so I'm hoping I'm wrong, and Apple is gracious enough to offer this feature on the SE3 as well. But there have to be omissions that make the SE worse, and removing the always on display is one of the easiest ways Apple can upsell consumers to more expensive watches. The always on display is of course made possible by the LTPO technology higher end watches offer, and so another feature I don't see coming to the SE is the ability to bring the display down to 1 nit of brightness if you're in a dim environment. Moving on to performance, the current SE2 has the S8 chipset, which at the time was the newest chip Apple offered on the watch, and so I do expect the new SE to get whatever chipset the Apple Watch Series 11 gets. Of course, naming scheme wise, we do know it's going to be called the S11, but we are yet to know which A series chipset it's going to be based on. For example, the S8 was based on the Apple A13, and so the S11 should be based on something newer like the A17. And yes, I know raw power isn't so important on a watch, since it's not like you're going to be playing AAA titles on this, but a faster chipset will of course speed up applications on the SE. It would also allow for some Siri requests to be processed on device for quicker response times and more accurate dictation. Also right now, Siri isn't able to access health info on the SE2, but that could change if a 3rd generation model gets a new chipset, and obviously a new chipset would mean this gets longer support as well. A feature Apple did bring to the Series 9 and 10 because of their newer chipsets was double tap, which basically allowed you to double tap your fingers and control your watch without having to touch the display or use the digital crown. This, I imagine, will make its way to the SE3 if we do get a new chipset. The SE2 also currently has no ultra-wideband chipset, and so we should see Apple bring that to the SE3, which would allow for precision finding and HomePod integration, since if you do lose your iPhone or AirPods, you can find the precise location on your watch, and there'll be this cool interface. You may also be wondering, are there going to be health features on the Apple Watch SE3? Currently, the SE2 does not offer ECG, blood oxygen detection, or temperature sensing capabilities, nor does it have sleep apnea detection. Now I do expect sleep apnea to come to the SE3 because that does not require any additional hardware, but I do think the ECG, blood oxygen sensor and temperature sensor will remain exclusive to the higher end watches. I know we originally saw the ECG back with the Apple Watch Series 4, and so you could argue that surely the tech has gotten cheap enough to include it in the SE, and that could be the case, but Apple wants to upsell consumers at the end of the day, and so what's the easiest way to do that? By making health features exclusive to the higher end models. So if you want Apple Watch to save your life, you have to spend a minimum of $399. Obviously, I would like to see new finishes, and it would be nice if Apple could bring some fun color options to the SE. The A16 based iPad, for example, comes in some very saturated finishes, so it'd be great to see the same with the SE. I know occasionally Apple does also introduce saturated finishes with the regular watches, but the Series 10 currently comes in jet black, silver and gold, and so why not give the SE blue, red, green, etc. I know Apple has ended their product red partnership, but does that mean we can't get red watches? I demand we still get a bright red watch this year. By the way, I do expect aluminium and Ionx glass to remain as the only case options. If you want titanium or better glass, you're obviously going to have to get higher end watches. Other smaller changes I would expect is more storage on the SE3. Currently the SE2 offers 32 gigs of storage, but we should see double that with the SE3. There could also be a third generation optical heart sensor for better heart rate tracking, and we may also see IP6X support for better dust resistance. Now I would like to see better battery life on the Apple Watch SE, and that would be an upgrade that would get many to upgrade. But honestly, the SE getting a battery upgrade depends on the regular watch getting a battery upgrade, and since that still offers 18 hours of endurance, I doubt we're going to see a battery upgrade with the SE3. We may see faster charging the Series 10 offers though, so at least you'll be able to top up your SE3 faster if it runs out of battery life. But it's kind of crazy that Apple refuses to offer more than 18 hours of battery life on the SE and regular watches. We've had 18 hours of battery life since the OG model, and that launched over 10 years ago now, so I really think Apple should be focusing on giving all Apple Watches better endurance without having to rely on low power modes. Finally, coming to the price and release date, I think Apple's going to retain the same $249 price tag the current SE2 retails at, and we should see this release at the iPhone 17 September event. Though honestly, considering Apple Watch sales have been declining, it would be nice if the SE became more competitive and got a $50 price cut to $199, but I think that may be too good of a deal and could end up cannibalizing sales of the higher end Series 11. And at the end of the day, this will still be a great seller at $249. There are those who have very basic needs when it comes to their smartwatch. They just wanted to show notifications and do some basic fitness tracking, and the SE3 is going to be great at that. And also because it's the cheapest watch Apple sells, by default, it's going to be very popular. And so yeah, I'm sure there are many waiting for this new SE. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.